This is Table Talk, the bonus episode of Live from the Table, the official podcast of the Comedy Cellar. This is Dan Naturman, the host of Table Talk with Periel Aschenbrand, the co-host of Table Talk.
Hi.
We have a special guest. Well, he's not that special because he was at the last two bonus episodes. Noam Dworman, owner of the Comedy Cellar.
Hello.
He joins us because
Hello.
he feels like he doesn't have to, and so he doesn't feel any pressure.
First of all, very quickly, I had to, I needed an Uber the other day, and so I downloaded, and it made me download the Uber app was being updated.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to get the updated version, I had to update the operating system on my phone.
Uh-oh.
So I did that, and then the search bar for when I downloaded the new operating system, the search bar was at the bottom of the screen. I lived with it for 2 days until I said, I can't live like this. And I Googled around and I was able to figure out, it wasn't that hard, but I was able to reset the search bar at the top.
Okay.
How the fuck can you have the search bar at the bottom? It's maddening.
I'm looking right
Is it something you get used to? I can't imagine ever getting used to that.
I mean,
It was horrifying. I put up with it as long as I could, Periel. And then I said, no, this can't continue.
I'm sort of impressed that you were able to figure out.
Well, it's not that hard, but I'm shocked it's even an option. Is it? Is it just because I'm used to it, or is it?
Yes, it's just because you're used to it.
Because you know how, like, when you get a new phone, and it's like much larger than the old phone. If you're a person who gets a new phone every few years, like I am, some people get new phones all the time, and you're like, oh my God, this is enormous. How could I ever get used to this? But then
That's what my wife said on our.
Does anybody, Nicole, do you have the search bar at the bottom?
Yeah, it's infuriating, but that update was a while ago. I feel like you really.
So your search
held
bar is
off.
at the top.
Mine's at the top.
No. Mine's at the bottom, whatever the new one is.
Well, why? And it's infuriating.
Yeah, I hate it.
Well, you can put it at the top.
Dan will fix
How
it
do you
for
do that?
I forgot. I think it's set. I forgot, but just Google it and you can put it at the top. Yeah, it starts you off. It starts you when you download the operating system. It starts at the bottom. I didn't need it until I needed an Uber. The other night, I ordered an Uber. I was in Long Island at a gig, and I usually use Lyft, but whatever there was.
Yeah, that's something to talk about too. How come you usually use Lyft? I tried to put you in an Uber the other night too, and you were like, "I don't have Uber. I only have."
Yeah, because I didn't have I didn't update my credit card.
Oh, that's
at
right.
that night. But then the next week, I had a gig, and I needed, and the Uber app said, "No, you need to update the Uber app." But I couldn't update the Uber app until I updated the operating system. So
Well, I'm very glad you got that all sorted out.
all right. So I guess we're gonna.
I understand what's going on here now.
Okay.
Dan has got nothing for our first 15
No,
minutes
no.
now because he's
Oh.
using. This would have been our first. The last 3 weeks, Dan's like got nothing for his dumb first 15 minutes that we supposed to. And I say it was all on you because he's saving for the bonus episodes. And now, so let's just start with the guest at the top of the episode from now on.
Unless there's something.
No, I like having some time in the beginning of the episodes to chat with you.
Anyway, I watched the John Mulaney special, Baby J.
Same.
Normally, I would never watch comedy. I don't watch comedy. I mean, the last thing on earth I ever want to watch is comedy. But we're doing a bonus episode because I've had enough. And and the last thing, and there are very few people I watch. Sometimes I watch Jim Norton because I like to hear him talking about trans women.
Uh-huh.
Why
do you like that? Why do you
just because it's something no one talks about.
Okay.
The fact Jim Norton is a straight cis man dating a trans woman is the only.
Really?
What? Well, how?
Straight cis man who has sex with.
Yeah, he's the only comedian.
penises.
He's the only comedian that talks about it. You talk about a topic that pretty much every comedian addresses the same topics. There's nothing I talk about that hasn't been talked about by another comedian. And that's true with most comedians.
Your cousin Sheila, nobody talks
No, but
about
people
her.
talk about texting. I mean, yeah, my cousin, obviously my cousin, if you get that specific. The point is, who's talking about shit that's really entirely and totally unique? A, Jim Norton talking about liking trans women. No other comic talks about that. And B, Keith Robinson talking about being a stroke victim.
Now Norton doesn't
Those
say
are both
he's necessarily a straight cis man anymore. He's a little.
Well, he's straight. Whatever he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
The point is, those are the only two people that, as far as I can tell, are talking about things completely, wholly, and totally unique.
Well, now Mulaney did.
Well, I don't know if Mulaney was 100%
Did you
unique.
watch
I mean,
it?
I think people have talked about
I
drug
watched it,
addiction
yeah.
before, but
Did
it's
you enjoy
pretty
it?
unique. I thought it was excellent. That doesn't mean I enjoyed it. I just thought it was excellent because I don't really enjoy watching comedy, but I had to judge it objectively. It's an excellent piece of work and well crafted. as I posted this on Twitter, it's excellent at minimum. It may be genius if he made it all up, or a substantial part of it up. In other words, he told some crazy stories that were just unbelievably crazy stories about his life when he was addicted to cocaine. Are people addicted to cocaine?
Yes, of course they are.
And also benzodiazepines with Xanax and Klonopin and so forth.
So if he made it up, it's genius.
Well, it's much harder to make something up.
Right, sure. I don't think he made any of that up. I think
a lot of it was just like so outrageous that I'm like, is this true? If it's true, then he's doing an excellent job of communicating a true story and injecting little things into it to make it funny. Like, well, I don't want to give too much away, but there's
you can give some of it away. It's fine. I mean, it's
well, there's that bit about the whole thing about Pete Davidson was texting him.
So okay.
Should I talk more specifically about
I mean, you have to. If people
should I say
seen
spoiler alert?
Yes. Say trigger warning.
All right. So tune out if you don't want me to say it, but if you don't want to hear this, but. So Pete Davidson, apparently he put him in his phone as Al Pacino.
Right, but Pete Davidson changes his phone number
all
the time.
All right, so yes. But he put him in the phone as Al Pacino for some reason.
Well, because he realized that at a certain point he had Pete's number in his phone as 9 different Pete Davidson. So then he just started putting him in his like very famous.
So he put it Al Pacino. So he's in the rehab center.
In detox.
He's in detox. He's asleep. Or something like he's asleep, but the phone is ringing and it says Al Pacino, and the nurse.
There's a nurse watching him because he threatened to leave rehab twice.
Okay, we don't need to divulge everything.
Well, I mean, okay.
So the nurse is seeing that Al Pacino is calling. So is this true or is this not true? Did this really happen? And the nurse wakes him up because John Mulaney said because it was fucking Al Pacino. Like,
Well, she said that she saw that he had 5 missed calls from Al Pacino.
Oscar winner Al Pacino. So he does this whole conversation with Al Pacino, like, no, I don't think it, like, Pete, like, I don't want to give too much away, but Mulaney's on the phone, and the nurse is hearing him saying, no one's going to blame you, and the nurse, and he then does an act out of what the nurse must be thinking Al Pacino's saying on the other end, like, hey, people are going to accuse me, an 79-year-old man, of getting John Mulaney on drugs. So, the imitation was very good. It's a lot better than mine. And the act out was good. The question is did that really happen that way? Did the nurse really wake him up thinking Al Pacino was calling him?
I think for sure it's true.
Because if it's true, it's an excellent piece of stand-up. Yeah. If it's made up, it's genius. Because to make something up is a lot harder. If all he's doing is taking real shit, and he lived a crazy, crazy existence as a drug addict, then it's great, but it's not as good as if he made it up in terms of. I mean, is it as good? It's just as entertaining.
Yeah.
Probably more entertaining if it's real.
I was reading something today, a Cormac McCarthy novel, and there was this amazing story that somebody was telling, this narrative of their life. And I had exactly the same thought. I'm like, if this is made up out of whole, this is fucking genius. Even if he based this on some actual story that he heard somewhere, it was still unbelievable fiction. Mm-hmm. But I was actually wondering, like, did he fucking create this out of nothing? Like, this just unbelievable narrative. So I get what you're saying.
But so I say it's at a minimum, it's excellent. And then it might, depending on how much is made up, again, it doesn't make it more entertaining, but it makes it more, creatively impressive.
I'm going to go on record and say that I don't think any of that was made
It certainly
up.
seemed real.
Yeah.
And that makes it, when an audience thinks it's real, it's more impactful.
Mm-hmm,
it's actually more impactful.
Yeah,
I
think
it's
so
real.
too.
But it's more impressive if he just made it up.
From the art of stand-up or crafting or storytelling, it's more impressive.
One thing, I think so. What struck me also is just how, I mean, I knew he had his issues, but I never knew how severe.
I never.
It was the last person I would ever suspect.
That's what I liked about it.
I mean, he seemed so clean cut. He always seemed together. There are people that you meet them and you're like, this guy's in trouble. This guy's got problems. And he wasn't. Not that I spent a lot of time with him, but he never struck me that way. One thing that he didn't talk about, and this sort of is related to what we were discussing with Freddie a little bit. One thing he didn't mention, I don't think, is that he was suffering during this period. He talked about how he was addicted. He talked about how he, the schemes that he did to get cash because he told his accountant, "Don't give me any money." So then now he had to figure out how to get money. Rather than just calling up his accountant and saying, "It's my fucking money, give me the money." He didn't want, I guess he was embarrassed. So he had to find a way to get cash, like crazy shit. But one thing he didn't say is that he was suffering.
Right.
And so I wonder, is it possible to be an addict? And definitely it was dangerous and he could have wound up dead. But is it possible to be an addict and not be suffering whilst you're an addict?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. I mean, out of everybody I know who have suffered from various sorts of addiction, I mean, it's part of being addicted to something, right? I mean,
but I mean, if you have the resources to have as much cocaine as he does, as you want, is it possible that he was having a good time, even though he was flirting with death, perhaps, or maybe not death with cocaine? I don't know. I guess
sure,
cardiac
of course,
arrest, I guess.
of course, you can I mean, and mixing all those pills with coke, and those, yeah. I mean, he was running himself ragged.
Is it possible he was, if not enjoying it, at least not actively suffering?
You can enjoy parts of something and also suffer from
I mean, I know nothing about addiction.
Well, people addicted to cigarettes, they're not suffering.
Sure they are. Sure they are.
I don't think so, no.
Oh, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I mean, as an addict for years and years with cigarettes, I love smoking cigarettes, but you also hate it, and you know that you're destroying your lungs. I mean, there are all sorts of...
I guess that's a different thing, but like, previous generations, my father smoked marijuana all the time. He wasn't suffering from it.
Right, people that are... Yeah, I think it is. I disagree with you, Periel. I think it is. I don't know if it's the case with John Mulaney, and maybe there's things he didn't want to delve into. Maybe he thought it was too much for a comedy special, even though he got pretty raw and pretty deep. But he did say, well, I don't revealed enough. But he may not want to reveal certain things that he felt maybe were too much, maybe certain painful things that he was going through. I
think that when you're at that level of being a drug addict, you are absolutely in pain.
Well, I don't know. Addiction is one problem I don't have. I have plenty of others, but that's one problem I don't have. Nicole, do you have anything to say about that? Or you any?
Well, I think that it was pretty clear, suffering comes in different forms, that his life was falling apart based on the fact that all of his closest friends had this intervention for him. How he opens the special is discussing the intervention. So I feel like in some way he must have been suffering if it was that clear to his friends that something was going terribly wrong.
Yeah, you're ruining your life, right? Like, you're aware of that.
It's funny what you said, because I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine who, we have a mutual friend who was together guy, and then we lost him. He's not dead, but he's no longer in anybody's life. He became a crystal meth addict. And my friend said, I was there the first time he took crystal meth. And what he said to me right before he took it was, I don't have an addictive personality.
Oh my God.
He said that's the first thing. That's the last thing he said before he became a meth addict, because I don't have an addictive personality.
That is haunting.
Yeah, it was haunting. Yeah. So Dan says I don't have an addictive personality.
Well,
stay tuned next week when Dan tries crystal meth.
Well, I mean, you can get addicted to anything, I suppose. But I mean, heroin, you're going to get addicted to certain things if you use them. But generally speaking, I mean, I can have a drink and put it down, without a problem. I guess I'm not an alcoholic. Maybe
Alcoholism is a very genetically based addiction, apparently.
Yeah, I think so. And certain ethnic groups, I'll just leave it at that, seem to have...
Get ready, get the bleep finger ready, Nicole.
I also
seem to have, unfortunately, tragically, really, a bigger problem with that than others.
Yeah.
The Jews don't seem to have as big a problem with alcoholism, but I think we have
it's
more...
expensive.
I think we have more likely to have certain mental illnesses, so I don't want to say that...
Neuroticism.
Cocaine is... I mean, I know... Anyway,
of course, there's Jewish alcoholics, but there's studies. There's
it's not a common.
It's a gene. There's a gene that somehow plays a role.
The other thing is that I liked I liked seeing Mulaney like that though, because of exactly what you said, that he always came off as like so clean cut and having it together. I liked somehow that made him much more likable to me.
I really want to see it. I remember one conversation. I was sitting with Mulaney talking at the table, and he was telling me about were his parents like professors or something?
It could be. I don't know.
So he's telling me about his life. He's married to a Jewish woman, whatever it is.
Not anymore.
And he got up and walked away. And then I thought that somehow I had turned him off. But in a way I can't explain, that the moment stayed with me. I can picture it even now. And I had other experiences like this that turned out to be something like some ridiculous other explanation. Like it didn't fit the box of anything that I could actually identify as a behavior pattern that I could come to grips with. It was weird in some way. So that's why it stayed in my mind. And I think now in retrospect, it was in some way the drugs.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing that he said that really resonated with me, and if you think about how obnoxious and awful and whatever this story is, imagine that this is one I'm willing to tell you.
Yeah, see, I didn't want to say that. I was about to say that, but that's a good line that you just spoiled for our listeners.
Well, they got a
She's new
spoiler.
to this business, you know.
I mean, without saying spoiler alerts. So, by the way, I watched it with French subtitles.
Oh God.
Just to see if I could learn some new vocabulary. And I did. Intervention in French is a réunion pre-désintox. A meeting
Detox.
pre-detox. Yeah, I mean, French is
I thought it'd be intervention.
not the way it was translated. Now, it could be that it might be translated that way because...
I guess intervention doesn't mean a drug intervention in France.
right, I guess.
Réunion? Is that what it is?
Réunion, which is a meeting pre-désintox, before
Detox. Oh, that's literal.
One of the things in this Cormac McCarthy book I'm reading is a lot of Spanish dialogue. It fucking burns me up. Now, in the I read it on the Kindle, so the Kindle can actually translate
it. Right.
But as I'm reading, I'm like, what were you supposed to have done if you bought this book? Like, does he expect everybody to speak Spanish? It's so arrogant. Like, maybe you should just translate it on the side or something, or in the back.
I'm sure it's in the back of the book.
No.
It has to be.
I'm going to wordreference.com just to see if they give the same translation on psychological help. Okay, they translate it the way you did, Noam, intervention. They also say sérieuse discussion avec les proches de quelqu'un. Serious discussion with the people close to somebody. They do not translate it the way it was translated by whoever did the subtitles.
Try to get Cormac McCarthy. You'll never get him. He doesn't do any interviews.
Anyway, one other thing I did want to talk about with regard to the special is that Mulaney mentioned, semi-spoiler alert, it's not that big a deal, but he mentioned that he was not recognized in rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of
bugged him
a bit. That and then he does a whole.
Let the record show that when Mulaney first came on the scene, he was called the next Dan Naturman.
Was he? Who called him that?
People.
Well, he had that voice.
Yeah, SD would.
But other than
as a Naturman,
well, SD, but
The
it wasn't a universal.
No. It was a pretty common thing. He was the new Naturman.
Well, he has a similar voice, but very, very different, obviously, and far more successful. But no one recognized him in rehab, and that got me thinking about the modern.
They didn't recognize you either.
Well, we know that, but Mulaney is much more known than I am. But that, I think, is just the modern nature of fame is just not what it used to be. I'm quite sure my parents don't know who Mulaney is,
Mm-hmm.
and I doubt my sister knows. I haven't asked. But everybody knew who Seinfeld was, from a 5-year-old to a 95-year-old.
But you can't compare.
Well,
can you? I mean,
because the level of fame is different now. I think there's just more people that are less famous. There's not as many people that are household names, but there's more people that have big followings that are making a lot of money,
right,
and are famous, but they're not as famous as the famous people of yesteryear.
Interesting.
Well, let's say he's famous. He's famous for being on SNL mostly, right?
But he's hosted, I think, a couple times.
Yeah. So
He doesn't. I don't
let's say
think he's got a big movie presence.
Let's say a Martin Short level fame, or maybe even a little below. Martin Short was a bigger thing, but what I'm saying is that even then,
There were people in that category.
a well-known SNL figure might not have been.
Right,
it was never
right. I
A
guess
few of them, like Chevy Chase,
Yeah.
became household names, but
Well, that's true. Yeah. So even then,
most
there
young
were,
people would know.
there
who
were
he is.
people like John Lovitz. My mother wouldn't have ever known who. That
Right,
was,
right.
You know.
He's pretty famous. Yeah,
But somebody like Steve Martin or
But Steve Martin was universal.
right.
he was huge.
So, but I do think.
But your point is well taken. It's true.
Yeah, I do think there's more people to have these. I mean, he's not
balkanized. Fame is balkanized.
It's more balkanized, and there are people that have big following. I mean, Mark Norman has a big following, and he can fill, theaters, I suppose. And
But your parents probably don't know who he is either.
no, they certainly no. But yet, if I ask 10 people on the street who's Mark Norman, I don't know that how robust a response I would get.
It may watching.
But he has, but if he has 1 million people that love him, that's
yeah,
about
sure.
My dentist seems to know all. Like he knows who Sam Morril is.
Well,
he
if
knows
he's a
all-
comedy fan, yeah.
I guess he is.
a
A lot of
comedy
people.
fan.
A lot of people watch these Instagram clips.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people watch Instagram. Watching Mulaney's special made me think about something that you said, actually, which is that there seems to be a trend recently that a lot of comics are talking about things
Therapy.
that are deeply personal.
Well,
Right.
no, I didn't say that was the trend, though it might be. I said talking about therapy.
No,
Seems to be a
you
trend.
You said that.
I don't know if I said-
You said that the comics who seem to be doing very well,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yes. But that doesn't mean it's a trend. I'm saying the comics that seem to be blowing up
Yeah,
are doing long personal stories.
right. And which is what this was.
Which is what this was. Oh, that, but I mean, Sam Morrill's doesn't do those, and he's doing quite well. But I think it's more the rule than the exception that the biggest comics like Chris Rock, Mulaney, are doing these, Louis,
Mm-hmm.
are doing very personal stuff. They're not, Attell, by contrast, you can watch Attell for 3 hours and know nothing about his real life.
But Louis hasn't.
And
really,
he is as skilled as any comedian, some would argue the best, but not as famous as those other guys.
No, Louis did. I think Louis did more personal stuff before his thing.
But then but I'm saying that
He hasn't talked about all the stuff he went through.
No.
Chris
but
Rock did, but
he talks about his life. It's just he doesn't necessarily talk about
Yeah.
the scandal.
Yeah.
But
Le Scandale.
that's right. That's the word. French is easy. It's.
Le scandale.
Yeah.
I think it's a masculine noun, but I'm not sure. I could look that up. But scandal.
I like it. I mean, I think it's interesting and
Because in French, most words that end in E are feminine, but there are exceptions.
it's noted.
Okay.
So it's le scandale.
I believe it's a masculine noun. I can look that up. You see, that's where my non-native status really shines, is the masculine and feminines.
So I got a pretty.
It is a masculine noun. That is correct. A scandal, masculine. Yes.
I got a pretty thorough genetic test this week,
Oh yeah.
and apparently, I find this hard to believe. I'm at genetically low risk for Alzheimer's.
That's great. That's good news.
Yeah, of course, it's good news.
But did you want to know? I mean, if you were, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to
I
know
didn't
that.
want to know. I wanted.
I mean, now you want to know because it's good
Yes,
news.
that's a big question.
Yeah.
I couldn't resist.
Where do you go to? Can you walk
I
me
can't
through
remember
that
the
a
name
little?
of the company.
That's a good one.
It was xcode.com, I think.
I mean, that would be a bit if you did it on stage. I got a test to see if I was at low risk for Alzheimer's. I forgot the name of it. That would get a big laugh that would get a big laugh. Yeah.
You can
That would get a big
you
laugh.
can take that.
No, there's a joke like that guy goes to the doctor's office and says,
Well, yeah.
oh no, guy says his friend. He says, yeah, I was having trouble with my memory, and the doctor gave me this pill, and I can't believe I can remember everything. I says, I said, what's the name of the pill? He goes, what's that flower? It's red and long. It has thorns.
Rose?
I guess it's Rose. He goes, Rose, what's the name of the pills I'm taking?
Right. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, that's a cute joke.
That's a
Right?
good joke.
Who said Rose? You're
I
offering,
don't know who
you're offering me
wrote-
the name Rose. That's part of the
I don't
joke.
know
man.
who wrote these street jokes. Some of them are so clever, and you wonder who wrote them.
Modi told me a great joke that I won't tell you now. Modi told me a great joke. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, that's good news about the Alzheimer's.
If it's legit.
So, but what do? You take some.
Well, you don't do what I did the first time. You don't
don't
jizz
jerk
in the
off
thing.
in
You know, ask for my DNA. I've told that joke before. No, you spit in the thing. Actually, no. I first got it 23andMe, and then there's this new company that you can download your 23andMe genome and upload it.
Okay.
Now, if you need me to come over to your house to help you download and upload, I'll help you. But and then he gives you like a different set of traits and stuff.
Speaking of going to.
But if you were at risk for Alzheimer's, learning a second language, they do say there is evidence
Let me tell you something.
it is helpful. I don't know how helpful.
If this came up
Not-
that I was at high risk
know,
for
but they-
Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
I literally I think that I would.
Would
you
you
would
die
not-
by suicide?
I don't know. It would literally ruin the rest of my life, and I'm not exaggerating.
Well, what if the risk was at the age of 90?
It doesn't say that.
Yeah, but you could inquire. Well, maybe it
No. But if it was like even late onset, I'm 6 years old. The point is that if I knew, like the BRCA gene is like a high risk of breast cancer.
Yeah.
People get their breasts removed proactively.
I know
right?
somebody who did that. Got a double
Preemptively.
mastectomy in her
Of
20s.
Angelina Jolie. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
so that's what they do. Like, now, if you get the same kind of thing
you
for
can't
Alzheimer's,
Yeah, you can't remove anything.
what can you do?
Well, what you can do is, as I said, they say that learning a second language can and keeping your mind active can delay it by 5 years.
My mind's active.
Okay.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna.
And
get
there's foods, you know.
I like probably, I'm not exaggerating, 15 or 20 pints of blueberries a week.
I mean, if you do everything right in terms of food, and in terms of not drinking too much, and in terms of keeping your
having
mind active,
a young girlfriend helps too.
you could probably delay it by 7 years or something. I don't know.
7
Do
years
you
is a lot,
guys
but
get prostate exams regularly?
whether I need one or not?
Um,
Yeah, of course, every checkup. Now this, I've
Every month,
spoken of this
every
before,
month.
but I know I said, but that the technology for prostate exam is
Yeah.
still a finger in your ass.
Yeah.
mhm.
In 2023, when they have a sophisticated, they do heart surgery through a little thing that that springs open in your heart, but they still have to stick a finger in your ass to check your prostate.
They haven't been doing that
What if
for
God
years.
had not made a finger small enough to fit in an ass?
Well,
we'd never know whether we don't just die of prostate cancer without any.
I guess we'd figure something out. But
We'd have to figure something out. That's right. Well, there's got to be some solution. We have AI. Ask ChatGPT.
well, maybe there's they got to stick something in there, whether it's his finger or something.
Why?
else.
What can they tell?
Or maybe they could do. You
They
think
can
could do
just
it?
tell if it's enlarged.
They could do maybe an
Yes,
X-ray or something. Or
No. Why do they stick their finger up
To see
there?
if it's enlarged.
but could they use? They probably could use X-rays, but they don't. If they don't have to expose you to X-rays,
Yeah.
they don't. So they're erring on the side of caution. But I assume they probably could do that.
Yeah, and when they have blood tests now too for the cancer antigens, but that's not the same thing, I guess.
My understanding is it's quite enjoyable for men to have their prostate stimulated.
Well, I won't, I won't question your experience, but
It can be, but I think it depends on who's doing the stimulating. Obviously, it plays a role.
I can't believe you. First of all, that's so. Listen, I've understood that it can be enjoyable for a woman to have her vagina fondled, but I don't know if if it's the same thing when a gynecologist does it. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm sure some people.
There was just a story in the news about some guy who went and got a prostate exam, and he actually became aroused as a result in the
Yeah,
doctor's
of course.
office.
I'm sure.
Jim Norton.
Look, I'm sure somewhere there's a woman that has been aroused by her
Yeah.
gynecologist.
Well, of course,
Somewhere out there.
Didn't Sarah Silverman have some joke about the Jewish doctor rapist? She's ambivalent. About
Well, that was a joke, but I mean, I assume, if you're touching those areas.
but a prostate exam is not pleasant. It hurts.
Yeah,
It
I haven't
hurts.
gotten one in a while.
Yeah, it hurts.
Why does it
I got a
hurt?
colonoscopy. That's not included in the package, I guess.
No, it hurts.
One finger in your butt hurts.
They're supposed to use one finger. No, it hurts because
Using his whole fist.
I find it hurts. Yeah. Not the finger in the butt doesn't hurt. It's the pressing.
How long have we been doing this, Nicole?
Just about 30.
I'm going.
Okay. Well, but no, this is important because you're a musician. Any thoughts on the death of Gordon Lightfoot? Gordon Lightfoot has died this week.
Oh my God, Dan! If you could read my mind. Well, it's funny because I just heard there's an instrument called an arpeggi, which I just discovered like 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And Harry Connick Jr. Was it Harry Connick Jr. was playing it? Was playing "If You Could Read My Mind" by Gordon Lightfoot, and he was singing. I think something like I might remember it wrong, but that's a brilliant song. Mm-hmm. And okay, I'll tell you this. So I played "In a Little While From Now." It's not Gordon Lightfoot.
No, that's Gilbert O'Sullivan. Yeah.
And I played this song for my son Manny. And my son Manny listens to this song. My son's 9. He goes, "Daddy, that's so sad." And it occurred to me that when I was 9 years old, I would have never taken in the lyrics to a song on that level.
Alone Again, right? That's what
the lyrics just went by me. They still just go by me.
Yeah.
And my son listened like really intently to all 3 verses. And so that kind of got me listening to lyrics. I was like, well, if my son is listening to lyrics. So then just by coincidence, just day before yesterday, I was listening to Gordon Lightfoot, "If You Could Read My Mind," sung by Harry Connick Jr. Mm-hmm. And the words are incredible. The words are really, really good. If you read my mind, what a tale just like an old.
What a tale my thoughts would tell.
Yeah, what a tale my thoughts would tell. Just like a old time movie about a ghost in a wishing well in a castle. Fortress. I don't know. Anyway, and then it goes. And then it goes from the other. If I could read your mind, girl, what a tale your thoughts would tell. Just like a paperback novel. Like, it's really good lyrics for a very young man to have written. So it gave me a pretty substantial respect for Gordon Lightfoot. Now, the next song I know after that was "Sundown, You Better Take Care."
That's a good song.
Which is a good song, but not on the level of "If You Could Read My Mind." And beyond that, I don't know his... what's the word, Dan? O-E-V-R-E?
Oeuvre.
It's a French word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it means like his
body of work.
His body of work. So... But I think he's respected, you know.
Well, his other song, Sundown, If You Could Read My Mind, Rainy Day People.
Yeah, I don't know that. But you're leaving. But the other person who died.
And the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which.
Oh yeah. How's it go?
The legend lives on from the Chippewa down.
Fitzgerald. Yeah, it's kind of like Irish sound.
It's a little. That I think is very sad.
So
that's a really sad song.
I have no idea what the lyrics were.
It's about the wreck of a real ship that went down.
Harry Belafonte also died.
Oh, that's right. But that was last week or this week?
I think this week. But anyway, or right on the borderline of the 2 weeks, the cusp of the weeks. But anyway, Harry Belafonte is, to me, a tremendous figure in music. And I don't know to what extent he's responsible for all of it, but I spent much time listening to Harry Belafonte growing up. Every single song, those records. And
was it Mary Ann? Was that it?
Matilda. Oh. Well, I mean, there's a ton of songs. Oh. Deo, obviously. I Believe. The Morning Adore Her. What's the other one? Down this way where the nights are gay and the sun.
Yeah.
To say I'm on my own.
Kingston Town.
Don't be back for many a day. My heart is on my head. Anyway, I got to meet a little.
Did he write? He didn't write that. I don't think that's it.
He didn't write these songs.
Okay. Yeah.
But he brought calypso music
to America.
To America.
He was born in where? In the United States, or
he might have been born in the United States. Maybe to parents from the Caribbean or something. But anyway, he was tremendous. He was absolutely tremendous, Harry Belafonte. And also,
he was born in New York City. Yeah.
If you look out later on, he had live concerts he did on PBS where some friends of mine were in his band, where he kind of modernized a lot of these arrangements with like an African thing to them, and those were brilliant also. Again, I don't know to the extent he was responsible for these arrangements, but he definitely was the guy, the decider of what was good and what wasn't good, and what was going to have his name on it and what wasn't. And that's a substantial talent, like Sinatra. I mean, Sinatra didn't do the arrangements either. But Harry Belafonte is maybe an underrated. He's a towering figure, in my opinion.
Didn't you sing a song recently, Juanita? Is that him?
I love Juanita.
Is
my
that
sweet
Harry
from Venezuela? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So,
all right. So rest in peace. He died.
But Harry Belafonte and then Gordon Lightfoot. Okay.
Well, I don't want to hierarchy. I don't want to rank them. But both big losses in the music world. Hey, that I think is
That's it.
our bonus episode.
How do you
Thank
feel?
God John Mulaney had a special that dropped, because otherwise I don't know what the hell we would have talked about.
Well, I'm sure we would have come up with something.
Yeah.
How do you feel about these bonus episodes?
I think they're good.
Yeah.
I think they're good quality. I don't know that what people agree or not, but
Well, I think what you think sort of matters as much as anything.
well, I suppose. No, I mean, not really. I mean, you'd want people to like it.
Well, sure.
Otherwise, there's no point. Thank you, Nicole,
You're
for being our
welcome.
sound technician, Periel Aschenbrand. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on Live from the Table and Table Talk. Bye-bye.
Bye.